From my very good friend Kunle Banwo, David Joe International.
Solomon, my friend. Well,
Good to see
Solomon,
you
that one
again.
is a code that I only have for you, but most people will not know that. So, Shagun, welcome. Good to see you.
Happy New Year. We've not had any podcast this year. I don't
This
think
is the
so.
this is the
This is the
premiere
first,
for
yeah, the first
2026. So
podcast we're having this year.
we're
So I
glad.
want to welcome you. It's been 2025 has been an amazing year for us, for you, for me, for everyone who has been part of this show that we've rolled out since 2025. We've seen the steady climb in our followership, amazing number, which is incredible. So I want to give a shout out to all the people that are following us, that are engaging with us. We actually crave for more engagement. That is where the conversation begins. We know you are viewing it, we know you are checking it, we know you are learning from it, but we want to engage with you. We want to talk about this leadership stuff. We know this is the main issue that we have in our continent, in Africa. Like Peter Drunkard will say, Peter Drunkard will always say that the problem of the bottle is that the problem begins with the bottleneck, because when you say uh, the bottleneck, that is where the problem is. So let's talk about leadership in Africa. Let's talk about how we can resolve some of the leadership challenge that we have in Africa. And we actually have something that is very, very important to discuss today in our Leadership Blueprint podcast, which is why do succession plans fail in Africa? Kunle, this is an amazing, an exciting topic to talk about at this time.
It is
What,
indeed.
what do you have to say?
No, it is indeed. And just let me join you to also congratulate all of our viewership, all of the people engaging with us. Uh, it's one thing to have a program like this
Yeah,
of this importance. It's another thing to have people connecting and seeing it as something that delivers value. So let me also join you to appreciate all of them. And like you said, let's let's deepen the conversation. I think we can deep dive into the issues that are being raised so that we can evolve it, take it to the next level, and
absolutely.
and we hope that will retain your viewership and participation. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Shagun. Again, thank you for for this opportunity and the privilege for us to work on something of this significance together.
Yeah, it's
The
always
subject we're no, absolutely. The subject that we're looking at today, which is leadership succession,
yeah,
is of huge significance. It's although I know we are speaking in the African context,
complex.
but
Yeah,
this is something that's a
it's a
huge
general
problem.
problem. It's a global problem, but
It is
more
uh,
more pronounced in Africa.
indeed, and so we can zoom in particularly in
Yeah,
our own context in Africa and look at why this is. We know it is an issue,
yeah,
and we cannot shy away from it. The evidence is stark. Whether
yeah.
you look at it empirically or anecdotically, we just have
Or
too many.
even as a mere observer,
Even if you're not scientific
if
in
you are
your
not scientific, if
observation,
you are just observing, it's all around us. Even
it's
as we speak,
absolutely
you just need to look to the next organization beside you, and you see
it,
a lot of struggles in that area.
exactly. And if you look at all of the layers
Mm.
of our life, national, whether it's political, whether it is business, whether it
Very,
is
very, very, very,
academic,
very.
whether it is all of the various spheres in the public sector and the private sector, we see and it means then that this must be cultural.
Yeah, it's cultural.
It means that it's somehow woven into the fabric of our society.
And
And
that's why we need to re-engineer that orientation and then create a new pathway,
yes,
and so that we have a new way of thinking about it. We have a new way of approaching succession plan, uh, different from the way our forefathers have conceived it previously.
100%. And I guess that's why we're having this, so that let's have the conversation first and foremost. I think everything can improve if you have honest conversations about it. If there is some kind of acknowledgement, and then we say, okay, we know this thing is there. So let's try to understand why it is. Let's
Yeah,
try to look at the factors contributory to this issue, and that's exactly why we have this podcast. So we're talking about the right thing, my friend.
now, Kunle, before we go into some of the conversation we want to have, I also want to let you know where this pain actually emerged for me. Um, there were two industrialists that I love so much. You can relate easily with one because by proxy, uh, you you will know the person I'm talking about because you once lived in Ijebu there, and you will understand the kind of power, the kind of influence, uh, the kind of legacy that he built while he was alive. And I'm talking about no other person than Ogbeni Oja of Ijebuland. That is Odutola. You remember that business magnate who was everywhere, who was a major industrialist of those days. You want to talk of biscuits, you want to talk of foam, mattresses making, you want to talk of tire making. He was all over the places in his days.
Mm,
But as soon as this man dies, every of those business collapsed.
yeah.
Even as a young man, Kole, it broke my heart. Even though I didn't understand what happened, but
Mm.
I can tell you it broke my heart. You know the person I'm talking
Of
about.
course, we're talking about
He
we're
has a
talking about
school that is
yeah,
still functional today.
yes.
Yeah,
That's,
it broke my heart. And the
we're
other
talking about
person, of course, is our one-time presidential aspirant, MK Abiola. He was also an industrialist in his own right, but the moment he left the scene, everything about him also collapsed. And
yes.
this really gave a very big signal for me that something cultural, just like you said, uh, culturally, something is not right here. Something needs to be reorchestrated for a better result in this area. Those are one of the two major pains that I carried in my heart. That is very, very crucial to what we are going to talk about today.
Mm. 100%. I mean, Chief TA Timothy Adiola
Yeah,
Odutola is a well-known industrialist, particularly in the Second Republic.
yeah.
I think it was, yeah, I think that must be the Second Republic because I know he lived the bulk of his work was between the
It's
19
70s, 80s. No, I
yes,
think from 60s.
yeah,
He's always been there from 60s.
just about the time of independence
Yeah,
right through to
to
uh,
early 90s.
early 90s. Yeah. So, and you're right. These are some of the observations.
Yeah.
But if you look even a bit
Deeper.
wider, you
Yeah.
will see that there are many such examples.
Even in our churches, not to mention any church in
Yeah.
particular,
Yes. Yeah.
whether it is Pentecostal
Yeah.
or the historical churches or any other way, you even our government parastatals, our ministries, our educational sector, you will always find this imbalance and lapses on it.
And you can come to the modern day, right? And look at all of uh, our institutions,
Yeah,
if we can claim to have such at this point in time, and then look at the business sector, look
yeah,
at the private sector, look at the public sector, as I alluded to previously, and you see that the same pattern still exists. So it means somehow there's been generational um, impact of this inability to successfully transfer
Okay.
value. I'll
Yeah.
use that word value
Yeah.
to succeeding
Yeah.
generations. And there has been the inability to preserve value. And that must be then that it's something that has to do with the collective way of thinking, of living,
Yeah.
of viewing things. So that's why I say that it's cultural, and it also means that fundamentally our philosophy of leadership and management needs to be reinvestigated, needs to be looked at, and because until your mind changes,
Yeah.
nothing changes around you. You keep doing the same thing. So it means it's something in between the ears, fundamentally, but there are also structural things. When I say structural things, I don't mean roads. I don't mean like no. I'm talking about there's a way our uh,
People
our
are.
society has been configured that ensures that that kind of outcome
Yeah.
is what we have time and again.
Yeah.
So, and then Shagun, just to kind of hint at this before we go a bit further, when something is cultural,
Mm.
it can be one of the most challenging things to
Yeah.
address.
It becomes endemic.
Yeah, because it's now it's woven
Yeah. Yeah.
into the collective
Fabric.
mind space, the
Yeah.
mental fabric,
Yeah.
and it takes time to unwind that. It's almost like you take a coil, and you wind a coil, a wire around something so many times over,
Yeah.
and then it becomes tangled. So if you try to untangle it,
Yeah.
you more or less create another tangling.
Yeah.
That is the kind of challenge we're talking about. However, we also can retain some iota of hope that it is not impossible,
Yeah.
even though it can be challenging.
Definitely. I was talking to my uh, elder sister some times ago. Uh, by the way, I was sharing with you, she uh, relocated to the US with her family sometimes early last year. So I was just talking to her. She has been in the banking industry for over 2 decades, and I was just sharing with her that you've been a banker. What do you think about taking advantage of? I was specifically talking about Dangote refinery. Do you think it would be a good prospect to invest in such a business and all that? Well, our answer is a bit of what I believe is the general belief of everybody, and that is what I believe is holding us back as a nation. Even though we are seeing some growth at some level in our nation, economic growth, you may call it, but even at that, there is still a limitation because people have certain beliefs that until those beliefs are removed, we cannot really unleash the potential that we have, that we truly have as a nation. Do you know what she said to me? She said, well, as far as a business is still one man, that it is still one man, a face of a man that you are still seeing around that business, that she has a kind of there is still a drawback in her mind whether to fully go into. I understand what she's saying perfectly, because this is part of the thing we are saying, because our concern is not just investing in the business in the short term.
Mm,
So what happens in the long term to the
mm,
business? You may invest in the business, and your investment may do well, but she is not just talking she's not just talking about an investment doing well in the short term, but she's looking at a bigger picture of business enduring even when the founder of that business is no longer available to call the shots.
Yeah.
And I think these are some of the challenges we are facing in these areas.
And that has a lot of merit.
Yeah,
I haven't said that though. I mean, it comes down to the management structure
yeah,
of any business. For example, there are quite a number of businesses uh, that are owned by living entrepreneurs.
yeah, yeah.
So that there are so many of them. You can
Yeah,
look at
we're going to talk about them.
Yes, you can look at the oracles of this world. You can look at the Microsoft. You can look at
Yeah.
various alphabet and so on.
Apple Incorporated, you want to
Yes,
look at Amazon.
yes. And
We're going to talk about
yes,
those ones.
exactly. And so my point though is that yes, Dangote, the owner is still out very much here,
Mm,
but ultimately when someone wants to invest, you first look at the management structure.
mm,
How is this structured in such a way that does everything? Is there a bottleneck, as I said before, that is orchestrated and always sort
yeah.
of uh, where the owner is that bottleneck all the time. If things happen with or without the owner, then you say, okay, maybe it's still investable. But that's, by the way, we'll go into that as we progress.
So Kunle, I think we need to get some definition clearly set out in our mind.
Yes.
When we talk about succession plan, we've kind of we've gone all around touching different aspects just to make our audience understand that this is a problem here that we need to pay our attention to. But I think at this point, we need to get some clarity. What exactly are we talking about when we say a succession plan? What exactly is a succession plan? How does it look like?
Amazing question, as always. And it's as you rightly said, we ought to define things clearly so that when we're talking about it, we can ensure that the discussion is not lost in some kind of woolly conversation. Now, if you talk about succession plan, you can look at it as the structure, the process that needs to be put in place in order to perpetuate the purpose and the vision of an organization or of an institution or of a venture. You can put it in such a simple way, or you can say it's the kind of uh, process, the structure, the organization that need to be put in place in order to secure that the vision continues to exist beyond the lifetime of its current actors. And I'm choosing on my word very carefully.
Yeah,
When I say the current actors, that may well be the current owners.
yeah,
It may be the current management team.
yeah,
It may be those who are responsible for it at this point in time. So
yeah,
I call all of them collectively
yeah,
actors. But whatever is done, a succession plan should be that the goal, the objective, the value, the purpose, the vision of that organizational entity can continue beyond their own tenure, beyond their own lifetime, beyond their own stewardship. Now, all of these words are indicative of something else because I'm using the word like stewardship, but it depends on whether the individuals see what they're doing as a kind of stewardship. You see, so I'm making some assumptions there, and I would like that we clarify those assumptions because fundamentally, when it comes to succession, before you even talk about the plan, the belief system of leaders, people with responsibility for leadership,
yeah,
must be that the vision of that organization is more important than their own
Personal ego,
self-interest,
personal ego,
ego,
interest.
yes, benefits.
Yeah.
In other words, if your mind says, I'm here, it is my turn to derive benefit from the organization,
Mm,
then there is already a problem, a huge problem with the leadership
mm,
mindset.
mm,
Because fundamentally, leadership really has more to do
mm,
with the mentality of the leader, with the philosophy of the leader,
mm,
than the actual leadership effort and activities.
mm,
So that's why the mind of the leader
mm,
is what determines whether the organization and the vision that is being pursued will even be successful.
mm,
Now, this is what ultimately influences the whole idea of having not just succeeding today, but having a succession plan so that the long-term viability
mm.
of the organization, in this case, let's say the the nation, the state, goes way beyond the current occupants of the management office or the leadership office or position. This is fundamental and it needs to be well addressed. And I think most of the time, our concept and mindset about leadership is probably where the issue lies, which is why when you see something happen time and time again, that's why we're saying that it must mean that the way, the mindset, the mentality, the philosophy of people about leadership is where to start the investigation from. Because people act out of their personal philosophy, out of their belief systems. If your belief system leads you to the point that the organization shut down after you, then it means that how you think about leadership and your stewardship of that organization is faulty. And if it happens to person A,
There are
B,
people like
C,
that.
D, yes. If it happens to individual 1, 2, 3, 4, 1,000,
Yeah.
then it means then that we need to be we need to swallow our pride and ego and reconsider our ideas about leadership.
Thank you very much, Kunle. There is one word that is so powerful in all that you have said, and that is process. It's actually the process that is very, very crucial here when we're talking about succession plan. It's not just waking up one day and just picking up somebody and say, hey, you go there and then take over. That is not the way a succession plan works. There has to be a procedure, a process. There has to be a methodological processes that has been put in place uh, to evolve uh, the successor in a way that when that successor eventually emerges, there won't be any doubt in the mind of anyone that this is fully the successor at this time. No, in some succession accounts, you can find a competent successor who is not trustworthy. Sometimes you can find a trustworthy successor who is not competent. At times, you can find a competent and a trustworthy successor who is not legacy minded. You know, for me, for that process to fully evolve a true successor, it has to be a process that involves a trustworthy, competent, and legacy minded successor, which means the legacy minded, uh, uh, the reason why it has to be a legacy minded person is because the tradition and the culture of that organization needs to perpetuate itself. If you have a successor who is not ready to perpetuate the culture of the organization, then I don't believe you have had a truly you have not had a good successor in my own mind. And so when you are planning a succession plan, or if we want to talk about a succession plan, it has to be a process that involves a trustworthy, competent, and legacy-minded successor or replacement, if you want to. If you want to.
Absolutely. And as you are saying, I mean, I'm sort of almost x-raying your mind as you're speaking, and you see that there are many sides to this. There is the there is the aspect of the process, yes, indeed. But then there's other elements to these things. E.g., there's the issue of capacity.
Yeah, capacity.
I-
That's very key.
yeah,
You can't rule that out.
competence.
Yeah,
Can you do the job?
yeah,
But then there's the other side of, is there value alignment?
yeah, exactly.
Do you have the right values,
Yeah,
which you can probably put together and say, and put a label on and say, the character
yeah,
of the would-be successor?
yeah,
So competence, character. But character sometimes can be, sometimes I don't want to, sometimes I'm trying, Shegun, to move away from, big words. I'm trying to break words into simple, assimilatable words so that it's very easy for even a 9-year-old to absorb. And let
You,
me let me
you
be
know
honest with
something
you.
I've come to learn. The simplest words, the simplest art are the most powerful in most cases. In most.
Absolutely. See, we're not in an English class. And all of the various English that we are spoken in Harvards and all that hasn't really benefited us that much. So the point, so it's not about our grammatical
Yeah,
uh, prowess. No, no. We have to decompose these things
yeah,
into assimilable
yeah.
uh, language. So, and that's why I prefer to speak in what they call it, the language of a 9-year-old.
Mm,
For some reason, 9-year-old is preferred.
mm,
And just by the way, just for you to know, so in on most governmental portals in the Western culture,
yeah,
when they write the guidance and those things, they write it in a way that someone in year five, like a primary five, which is
mm,
typically a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, can read it and understand it.
mm,
The reason is this: they are looking for the lowest common denominator so
mm,
that so that you can be well informed
mm,
regardless of the amount or the volume of education that you might have been opportune to interact with. So I'm trying to say, when I say character, I'm actually saying what the belief system and the values, the things that the individual values. So it means then that over time, there must have been a way to check, confirm that this will be successor or successors
mm,
embody the values of the organization.
mm,
And I will highlight why this is important. If you have competence
mm,
and you embody the values of the organization,
mm,
then it means that the foundations upon which the entire structure of the organization is built
mm,
can stand on firmer footing.
mm,
And that is even much more um, appreciable when you think that every organization is going to go through phases of change.
mm,
Environmental factors will come and change things.
mm,
Macroeconomic factors, macro, political. So many winds that blow against the organization. AI will come and change the face of the organization. But fundamentally, the capacity and matter of value system that the individual has embodied, they are the foundation that will continue to help you, the anchors that will help you to sustain and be able to withstand the changing dynamics of the organization and all that. So this is why, yes, the process must by all means be built on this fundamental, uh, um, if you like, building blocks, so that in time you will see that as things happen, this group of individuals who are the potential successors, they they will have proven that they have the wherewithal to carry forward the vision and the purpose of the organization. I would even say this, that traditions, though they are important, traditions may even have to evolve over time.
Exactly.
Because
Culture is not static.
exactly.
It's always on the move.
Exactly. So
It's always on the move.
but certain things cannot change,
Exactly.
which is
The
the
core element.
that's why I'm talking about values
Yeah.
and the matter of competence. And competence obviously is something that you have to continue to evolve over time. And this is why, Shegun, one of the things that you should, if you see anybody in any leader positions, I think that the first thing to look at is their value system.
Exactly.
Because their value system tells you what they believe.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example why this
And
is
it
important.
shows you their mindsets.
Absolutely. So,
Yeah.
for example, if you have any group of leaders or a management team
Mm,
at any level in any industry, political, economic, wherever,
mm,
if their value system tells you that they do not value human beings,
mm,
it does not matter how glorious, how beautiful the vision is,
mm,
the vision of the organization is.
mm,
It does not matter how brilliant they are.
mm,
It does not matter how well educated and experienced they are.
mm.
That organization is one that is destined to fail.
Yeah. No
So
matter what
that's
the
why
situation is, they will never see human beings. They are not seeing human beings. They are only seeing maybe things. They're not
yeah.
seeing people.
If the measure of success is only bottom line, as
Yeah.
important as that is, but there is no value for human beings,
Yeah.
then that organization would not mind destroying as many human beings
Yeah.
in order to meet the bottom line.
Exactly.
That's why I'm saying matters of value
Yeah.
is sacrosanct, is non-negotiable when it comes to
Yeah.
leadership.
You're 100% right.
But it's not only the role of the successor, the leader.
Mm,
Now, let me characterize this term leader properly. It might be that this leader is the pioneer.
mm.
It might be that the current crop of leader inherited the organization. For
Yeah.
example, if you say our nation, Nigeria,
Yeah.
whoever is in position of leadership right now did not, and they are not the fathers of the nation.
Exactly.
They inherited the nation.
Very good nation. Yeah.
Okay, and we're now watching what they will do with it. But the point is, what are their value?
Mm,
What are their core beliefs, and what do they value?
exactly.
That tells us where the nation is going, because every leader leads out of their belief system.
Exactly. Exactly. You're 100% right. Yeah. Yeah. So, Kunle, just to maybe just to help some of our viewers, that the idea of what we're doing here is not to necessarily paint anybody bad, even if you are doing your best. What I just want people to know is that it is possible for you to be a good leader. and not have a good succession plan in place. That doesn't make you as a person a bad leader. It's just that you have not taught it wise, that you also need to put a procedure, a process in place that can also evolve somebody that can be like you or even surpass whatever that you have done. So the idea is not because a leader is doing well and then because he couldn't find a replacement, it may not necessarily make him a bad leader. But the problem there is that he didn't have enough depth in himself to know that this is also an important aspect of his management, to put a procedure in place that will also evolve somebody that will be able to take over from him. And this leads me to the question of why we have succession plan, the failure of succession plan in Africa. Kunle, do you want to help us out?
I will
Why we
kickstart the
have
conversation, and I'm sure you have a lot more to add to it.
yeah,
So the question is, why have we, particularly on the continent of
yeah,
Africa,
yeah,
as it is in most places, I imagine, but why, particularly in our context, haven't we been able to um, transition
yeah,
beyond the current leader to
yeah,
successive leaders who take the organization to even better place?
yeah,
I would say that in some cases, maybe we have been lucky to have some of those, but they're just few and far in between.
yeah,
But for the most part, it's not been, we've not had a lot of successes in that space. So the question is, why has that been a difficulty? I think there are quite a number of reasons. And maybe one of them is that if you look at most of the people on our continent who have led organizations and done their best in inverted commas in their own time, for the most part, they they were, I'll call them uh, entities of circumstance, meaning that it was as if things just happened to them. Most of them did not have good examples of leadership that they could emulate. There were people who it seemed to me, just rose up out of a struggle. Like, look, I'm tired of the status quo. I have to do something
Aluta
about
continua.
that kind of a thing. Like they came out, most of them came out of a struggle. Struggle, it might be family struggle, it might be something that has happened to their in their community, and they feel like I just have to stand up
That
and and
those are what expert call situational leaders.
exactly. Most of them are situation. You have helped me to characterize properly. Most
Yeah,
of them, they are people you call situational leaders.
yeah,
They came out of that kind of example.
yeah,
So and most of the people that they dealt with, they they showed bad examples. They they epitomized poor leadership. So they were reactive in nature that no, I have to do something about this. So you can then say that they lacked good leadership models.
yeah,
Most of the time, they were like the pioneers. They were like the ones that, they are the pathfinders. So they were just, a pathfinder, if you are going to into a bush and you are imagine yourself taking cutlass and just finding the path. You just go as far as you can with what you have.
yeah,
And because that task is fundamentally difficult, sometimes they don't even think about their own um, limited resources and the fact that they are not going to be there forever. So they just kept on going. And because most people were just following them and looking up to them, it was perhaps a bit hard for them to trust other people to say, okay, now I think I can put this in your hand. Because they will have been in that mode of creating the pathway, it was perhaps hard for them to imagine other people taking on that kind of challenge. So that's why I agree with what you said, that it does not mean that they were bad people. No. It was just that they were just children of circumstances. And to a large extent, I also think that they lacked the kind of training that will have helped them to prevent what I call bad experimentation. Which means, because when you are creating a pathway, you'll be sometimes you figure it out as you go along.
Exactly.
So most of them had to figure things out as they went along.
Mm,
There was no necessary template for them to say, oh yes, I can see this template, therefore let me follow it.
mm,
And because they were not groomed, they were not necessarily themselves trained or mentored in the art of leadership, they literally did the best they could. And one thing that I also observe is that most of them, they define their value by the positions they occupied. Now, this is not something that is just attributable to them alone. It's also something that continues to happen now. But I'm just trying to look at the profile of such leaders and why we haven't have enough succession plan that we can say this is now. We've now seen leadership transition from the first generation to the second and third and fourth successfully. So they oftentimes associated that the value with the position that they occupied. So so if you were to take that position from them, it will be as if you have utterly removed their value. So they fought to keep their value, therefore, because everything seemed to be staked on
mm,
retaining that position.
mm.
And and most of them could not bear suddenly becoming irrelevant. Whereas when you look at true leadership, a true leader ideally tries to work himself out of a position.
Mm.
But
Exactly.
but for them, no, they could not imagine it. It was as if all their world will come crashing down.
Mm,
So when anybody comes along and appears to be a competition to them,
mm,
they will do everything to put that person down.
mm,
They will absolutely not tolerate any different ideas, different opinions. That's why most of these people they were people with strong personalities. When they appear, everybody starts to shake in their boot. They were powerful people. And in fact, people started to deify them in some way. Deify them like, wow, this is just, they will use this word in Yoruba, a condemning, Meaning people looked at them like they were larger than life
yeah.
because because they were taking on huge challenges that most of the people around them could not even dare.
Mm,
So these are some of the profiles that you see. So for someone operating in that mode, in that kind of profile, to think of, oh, let me set up a system where somebody else can step in my shoe, was hardly in their thinking.
mm.
They reluctantly, most of them, start to think about it when either their health was failing or they were facing challenges that was now incapacitating them in one way or the other. But because there has not been an investment in actively raising successors, people that can come along or stand along with them, inevitably, when people then try to step in their shoes, the shoes become too big for them.
Exactly.
And therefore, everything comes crashing down.
Mm,
And that really is, to me, a profile of most of the kind of leadership we've had.
mm.
Think about it on the political scene. I mean, think about our all those politicians of our forefathers, for example, in Nigeria. The people, they were seen as these such huge heroes
Yeah.
that to find somebody to come and step in their shoe was just a big issue. In
Exactly.
fact, we had a lot of songs for them, songs that deify them. They were like semi-gods. They were like, wow.
Yeah,
We look at them like the Hercules of our time,
exactly.
like the Aristotle, like this Socrates,
Exactly.
like this many gods. So, and they themselves enjoyed that privilege. They reveled in it.
Exactly.
And people that were coming along them needed to remain subservient, needed to be seen to keep being enamored by them in order to stay in the cycle. Loyalty became more of the factor to retain you in the circle
Yeah,
rather than you showing the ability to think differently or to say, oh, how about if you think about it this way? In fact, they would even most of them were seen as the epitome of wisdom. Like
exactly.
so, when it comes to ideas, you could hardly put forth an idea that will surpass their. I mean, to seem to challenge theirs. The, you, they will tell you, "Are you now wiser than me?" And you will be shut down.
Mm,
This has happened on the political scene,
mm,
religious scene,
mm,
educational scene,
mm,
literally all of our platforms.
mm,
Which is why, which is why succession has been a huge problem for us.
mm,
And because these individuals were people, because they had to respond to challenges,
mm,
they implicitly developed courage, strong trait of courage. And the people who are coming after them always look to them for inspiration because
mm,
their courage inspired action. So for someone to just suddenly say, "Oh, me too, I can do that," was a huge problem. You would not even want to 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 step in their shoes because they were carrying huge generational burdens. This has been one of the some of the issues that we've had. Now you can begin to scale that down and say, okay, how about the people that came after them? Now, of course, because they were not necessarily molded or mentored into this position, they also more or less had to take the mantle and say, okay, let me try and remember what my leader did in his time. But because there's no systematic, deliberate um, development of leaders.
mm,
In fact, when these leaders, when they try to even raise leaders, what they do is this: their criteria for raising anybody at all will be, as long as you are under my, you are loyal to me, number one. And I'm not minimizing the importance of loyalty. I'm saying that they just look at somebody who can do their bidding first and foremost.
mm.
Whether or not they are competent in the world, it's just, can you, are you a yes man? They literally will surround themselves with yes men.
Mm.
So by the time other people needed to pick up this mantle, competency, the gap in the competency is so huge that these individuals literally get crushed under the weight of the responsibility. I'm talking about the people that step into their shoes. They
Yeah.
literally got crushed. I
Mm.
mean, think about somebody who could run 5 companies without even showing any sign of strain.
This side of stress.
Now, you now bring somebody along who could not even manage a little unit and say you are now responsible for 5 companies. Well, without any doubt, all of those companies will collapse.
Exactly.
And this, let me just stop there. But these are some of the things that have been responsible for the kind of failings that we've seen.
Mm,
Now, one of the things that it seemed to me that was not apparent to them is that they did not realize that true success is only measured by the fact that what they started or what they led could thrive in their absence. That, for some reason, wasn't part of their mindset. And what you see that most of these people, they had a lot of trust issues. They could not trust most of the people around them.
exactly.
And because they wanted to retain power. Whereas the purpose of leadership is not retention of power, but
You know,
empowerment.
oh, yeah,
Is to develop other leaders that you empower. But that is not
yeah.
the
It was too big of a concept for
it
them
was
to
it was too big. They
process.
could not embrace that kind of idea. And you can't blame them, you see,
Yeah,
because people can only do
what they know.
what they know. They
Yeah,
can only live out of their philosophy. So
exactly.
unless something came along that helped them to see better,
And change that paradigm.
no, they will continue to do what they do, which is why, even up to now, Shagun, is it not true that most people who have become like, leaders of various groupings, whatever they are,
Yeah,
political, economic, and business, they also want to aggregate power
to themselves.
and only just give a tiny bit to
Yeah,
people that will not be seen as threatening,
yeah.
as
Um,
this is challenging me. Who,
that-
who is your father? You're challenging me. This is why we've had what we've had to date. And interestingly, I mean, just look at our countries around the world. You know that it's not just an African thing, but
yeah,
it's particularly prominent
yeah,
and has been the bane of our society.
yeah. Kunle, that was spot on. Everything you said has been very true. There is nothing we can say. This is not exactly the way you said it. Uh, I just want to come in from another angle. We said at the beginning that sometimes the failure of producing a successor may not necessarily be because there was a bad leader in place. And of course, at the same time, we also need to state the obvious. The failure of finding a successor could actually be as a result of a bad leader in place. So it's both ways. And we are going to see that as some of the reason why we have succession plan failure in Africa. Now, in the 20th century, we're a bit lucky, Kunle, to be part of the 20th century and to also witness the 21st century, so, which is a very rare privilege. Some generation will never have to experience two different centuries in their lifetime. But our own generation was privileged to witness the 20th century and the 21st century. Now, in the 20th century, there were two major management thinker. I would say one is a thinker. I would call the another a management player. One was actually doing the work while the other was actually producing the ideas, the philosophy, the ideal thing of management, and that is Peter Drunkard. He was more of a thinker of how management should be, and uh, I don't know. There are so many things that I learned, even as an undergraduate, studying business administration, that I learned even in my little university in Agowe back then about Peter Drunkard. It became an instant, they would say celebrity, but it was more than a celebrity for me at that time. It was like, oh my, this man is just too much. And of course, the other person is Jack Welch. Jack Welch of General Electric. When Jack Welch took over General Electric management in the 80s, the total market capitalization of General Electric, if I'm not mistaken, was around about 200 million or 400 million dollars. The entire General Electrics, and there are different, other sub-ed under General Electric. But this man, within the space of 20 years, within the space of 20 years, he was able to grow General Electric from $400 million market capitalization business to over $200 billion business, or even more. I can't really remember the exact figure, but it was in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And you can see that gap within just 2 decades. And this man, I before he died, I tried to learn a lot from him, and he would always tell you that right from day one, when he became the CEO of General Electric, he had put in place a system that will evolve a successor when his tenure expires. And the amazing thing about the system? And we were talking about putting a structure, a system, a process in place. Now, this is the amazing thing about what Jack Welch did. Now, when he put in that system, there were a lot of promising successors. Of course, all of them cannot succeed just one person. It's still one person that will succeed him eventually. But the system did not just involve one person. The system involved several persons who are competent and trustworthy enough, who are ready to carry on the legacy of General Electric. The system involved a number of successors. But do you know what happened? When Jack Welch was about to exit General Electric, okay, after they picked the successor that they wanted, do you know what happened? All the other organizations, all the other outside organizations who did not have such system in place had to depend on the leaders that General Electric had evolved to come and take over the organization. So by and large, although all of them did not emerge to become the CEO of General Electric, but the system was good enough to also produce them as a possible successor in other organizations that are not under General Electric. Now, when we are talking about why succession plans fail, not to be very blunt about it, there are many reasons. One of them, obviously, is greed. Greed. And you can see that happening everywhere, in every sector. I want to mention in the religious circle. We want to mention in politics. We want to mention our educational sector. We want to mention our health sector. We want to there is no sector where greed has not been the bane why we have failed to evolve good successors. Greed. Not only greed, there are other factors that are responsible for the failure of succession plan in Africa. Another one, you've mentioned it previously, and that is lack of trust. And when people don't trust other people, sometimes you may not really blame them. Just like you said, it's just their belief system. They have not been able to break that paradigm that you don't have to retain power to be effective. In fact, you become more effective when you empower other people to do what you are also capable of. In fact, the moment you find people who are able to do what you can do, you need to relinquish that position. A true and genuine leader only concerns himself or herself in what other people cannot do. The moment you find somebody who can do what you can do, you don't have any business doing that anymore. You have to find somebody to take over that terrain and then advance your leadership to a more difficult space where you need to also lead and groom other people to take over from you. Lack of trust is another thing. Another one is lack of willingness to vacate the position. We see this. I don't want to be too direct. I believe our audience are very intelligent enough to see these things even happening as we are speaking currently. If you have followed the political arena of Nigeria in recent time, you will see this thing playing out big time. They don't want to vacate the position that they have left behind. They are out of position, but they still want to be calling the shots in that arena. So that is also one of the reasons why we have failure of succession plan in Africa. Another thing is fear of sudden loss of self-identity. So who will I now? How will they now address me? You know, maybe they have been used to people calling them MD, chairman, CEO, and when they leave that office, they are not going to be called those names again. Those names it's like a music in their hair, and those music are not going to be sung in their ears again. So they don't want to lose that identity. It's
or they don't want to lose relevance.
Yeah, they don't want to lose relevance
because they derive value from the position that they occupy.
Exactly. So that is also one of the reasons why we have failure of succession plan in Africa. Another reason is failure to plan from day one, just like Jack Welch did. Kunle, you mentioned something which, for me, in my own little space, in all honesty, I've been opportune to have led different positions in my lifetime, even right from my university days. And I've had occasion to hand over to people. Do you know, Kunle, it has somehow, right from the very first day I had the right to be called a leader, back when we were in Winners Chapel, Agowe. I remember I started my leadership career as the president of Winners Youth Fellowship. That was how I started my leader. Even before then, I was also the chairman of the House Fellowship Committee. I would say that was how I started my leadership. But do you know something, Kunle? Right from that moment, right from the day I became the president of the Youth Fellowship, I only had one goal in mind, and that was to hand over to somebody who will be credible, who will be able to take whatever I was able to do to the next level. And do you know something actually happened? And I'm going to say this for the first time. Our pastor then, Pastor Weye, whenever we are having conversation, because my younger brother was also coming with me to the church, and he saw the way I was committed to the church, the way I was acting, the way I was doing things. He was always in awe of the way I was so dedicated, and he would say, Bro Solomon, where you are going, I want you to hand over to your brother. But in my own mind, I have this sense that passing over the baton to my brother is not necessarily the solution to whether there will be continuity in what I am doing, because I could literally see him seeing me through my brother, that what he was seeing through me, he was exactly going to get the same thing from my brother. But that was not the way I was looking at it. I was looking at it from the area of somebody that is more fitting into that position. And of course, I didn't hand over to my brother as he would expect. I handed over to somebody that I believe was more, not that my brother was not competent, but I just believe that was not his strength, and I don't need to hand over to him based on nepotic reason or based on sentiment that this is my brother. I didn't have to do that, but people didn't know this, but this is what really transpired during that time. And of course, when I went to serve, I also emerged as the uh, president of Corpus Fellowship in KB State. You know, there were so many things that my predecessors, there was a particular project that I have seen three or four presidents before me had wanted to do, but they didn't know how to do it. But I look at the same projects. I said, well, definitely, this project cannot be completed in my own tenure. And the question I needed to ask myself is, what do I do? What can I possibly do within 1 year that will set the pace for the next person who is coming after me to be able to do the project? Now, the problem with my predecessors was that they were thinking of how to complete the project during their time. But I looked at it, I knew that 1 year, 12 months is not enough to complete such a task. So I decided to focus on what I can do so that the next person who is going to come after me can complete or even pass it on to the next generation. And we did what we needed to do. We secured all that is necessary to be secured. We laid the foundation. We left enough money in the account of the fellowship compared to what I met when I became the president. And to the glory of God, the next president who came after me was able to take it further. Now, as I speak to you, Kunle, I don't know if there are any other story building in Kebbi State, particularly in Benin Kebbi area. You hardly find story buildings in northern part of Nigeria. They are always bungalow. In that area where we were living, the NCCF was the first house that you will see that was built that has a story building. And we initiated that project. And we didn't complete it, but we initiated the project for others who are coming after us to be able to complete. And that is one of the reasons why there is failure of succession plan. So you wanted to say something?
No. I wanted to chime in and just say absolutely what you've just talked about is what you will characterize as secure leadership, meaning that a leader that is secure in himself to know that the vision is more important than the leader.
Exactly.
And that a true vision is one that will always go beyond your tenure or your lifetime, in fact.
Exactly.
If it's a true vision, that is always the characteristic. As a matter of fact, Shagun, and I'm very pleased, and of course, I would say I'm not surprised that you have stories like that to share, because you see that's why I say that when we talk about leadership, the mentality, the belief system of the leader is exactly what produces the leadership. And it does not matter whether they are handling small matters or projects or bigger ones. No, the same trait is what you will see becoming evident in all. Number one, you see, secure leaders, they think beyond their leadership role.
Exactly.
A secure leader knows that my role does not define my value.
Exactly.
Therefore, it does not need to grab onto that role as if my life depends on it.
Exactly.
It knows that, listen, this role only exists to create or to enhance or to deliver certain kind of benefits to other people.
Exactly.
So So as long as I am doing that value delivery,
Yeah.
then the role is meaningful.
Mm,
And because of that,
mm.
the value that I have is in the delivery, not in the role itself.
Exactly. Mm,
And because of this way of thinking,
mm.
secure leaders naturally think generationally because they know, okay, if I don't finish this and perhaps I'm not likely to finish it,
Yeah.
that is no failure.
Exactly.
What is important is that this thing finishes.
Exactly.
Therefore, how do we arrange ourselves
Mm.
such that even when my own phase or my own part of the work concludes, that work does not finish.
Yeah.
It then goes on to the next team
Exactly.
of leaders. This
Exactly.
is the way to think.
Exactly.
Now, you see, secure leaders, they think about the end and they think beyond the phase
Mm,
of their own involvement.
mm.
And they are always aware of their limitation. Like, you know what? I don't have all the time.
Exactly.
I only have so much time to make my contribution.
Yeah.
But my contribution must enable
The
other
other
people to be able to
other
contribute their
people.
own. I must not create a problem that the others will find themselves bogged down trying to solve.
Exactly.
In other words, my job as a leader is to make it easier for other people coming after me to be
Yeah.
able to do their own work and deliver their value.
Yeah.
These are these elements we are talking about, Shegun, where I was saying that why we've had this uh, problematic leadership succession.
Mm.
Another point to quickly mention is this. Secure leaders always think about leaving. Let me be honest with you.
Yeah.
This one I'll say it with a bit of discretion.
Yeah.
I took on a particular role,
Mm.
and when I look at the terms of that role, do you know the first place I went to read? The exit process. Because, Shegun, you see, and we can say that maybe you and I, as some of our friends, have been privileged to be mentored by some very good leaders, directly or indirectly.
Yeah.
So you already know that your value is not about the position.
Exactly.
So, and true to that, the first thing I did was to say, okay, how do I leave this place?
Yeah.
Now that I know how to leave, now let's start the work.
You
Because
know, Kule, that's exactly the way my own mindset was. My wife knows that the moment we get a role in any, whether in our diocese or in any place, the first thing I try to process first and foremost is how do I get out of this role first. Once I'm able to figure out that, every other for me, when I leave a place, I leave comprehensively. I don't
I think I've told this story, Shegun, before. You remember I told you, you will remember when I had that opportunity to do like a competition
yeah,
and I had the first position in Ogun State that time.
yeah,
One of my uncles, he made a statement which I think I mentioned before. It stayed with me.
yeah.
He said that he said there are some people
Mm,
who make places better than they met them.
mm,
I don't know if you remember saying that, but when he said it, he said it so casually,
mm,
but that thing has stayed with me.
mm.
So since when how old was I when um
I think
two years ago?
we were in either GS3 or
No,
SS.
we were going to we were SS1 that
Yeah,
time. So I'll be only so much. I was just a teenager, but that thing stuck to my brain, and I started and that, I was still thinking, anywhere you go, leave it better than you met it.
yeah,
But it just stuck to my head. Now, secure leaders always think about living. They are aware of their own dispensability. They know that they are dispensable.
yeah,
That is the very reason that allows them to contribute their value whilst they are in that
Exactly.
position of privilege. In
Yeah.
fact, they look at their position as a privilege to serve.
Yeah.
And by I mean naturally, in thinking about that, a leader, therefore, a secure leader, thinks about emptying themselves of
Mm.
their vision. That's what you did when you were in all of those positions that you held. They look at emptying themselves so that when they leave,
Yeah.
they don't wish they remained.
Exactly.
Shagu, do you know something? Let me be honest with you. When I left Agawe, my spirit, soul, and body left. I did not wish that I should spend another because whilst I was there, I got away and knew that I passed through it.
Exactly.
There
Exactly.
was hardly a house that I did not enter whilst I was in Agawe. There was no street I did not walk.
Yeah.
I literally talked to anybody, anywhere, any day, anytime. I felt like I've
The
exhausted.
alignment we both of us have today was because we were doing door-to-door evangelism, and we were oftentimes we will meet ourselves. We're doing it independently, not
Yes?
even from the church. The church
No,
had not
no.
even started evangelistic plan at that time, but we were just doing it on our own. And then oftentimes, while we are busy walking around, we will meet ourselves on the way, and then
People thought we
from
were
there
indigenous.
we
People thought we
begin
were
to.
indigenous of Agawe because
And
of the way.
you know, some people, some students like me were thinking I was being paid as a pastor in
Yes,
Winners,
yes,
Agowe.
yes,
That was
yes.
the belief of some people. They thought I was being paid to do the work I was doing.
And Shagun, the reason was this. The work we were doing then did not start from Agawe.
Yeah.
For example, before I came to Agawe, I already had a huge burden for the youth of my hometown. So I expressed that through all of the means available to me. Sometimes I would do a one-man drama in order to get their attention. Sometimes I will go into the Methodist church
Yeah.
just to go and talk to the youth there. Sometimes I will literally walk door to door around the town just to speak to someone to say, no, please, your life can be better. You don't have to be limited by the conditions of our hometown. I was constant and I saw the gospel as my means, the vehicle to communicate with them that not only can you get right, but you can also progress educationally. Do you know that whilst I was working the poultry, I was doing math lesson and English lesson for my co-workers? So we play football, we do the work, then we do math lesson and English lesson. Because I was trying to say to them that this doesn't have to be our end. You
Exactly.
you can you can rise from here. You can go further. So
Exactly.
so Agaway was just a continuity of what already started in Ishara.
Exactly.
So I did not need the church to tell me let's do evangelism or not. I
Exactly.
was just doing it myself. And when the church said there was a structure for it, okay,
Exactly.
fantastic. Let's use
Exactly.
that structure. But
Exactly.
with or without the structure, we will have just carried on
Exactly.
regardless. Now, and that's why I'm saying that you say the mindset, the belief system is what defines the leader. Because leaders know that, look, they are not dispensable. They know that, say, the visionary is dispensable, but the vision is not dispensable. The vision has to carry on. But the leader will finish, the visionary will finish, right? And this is why they see leadership as a privilege and not a right. So when you see people who want to hold on to that and be called chairman and they want to remain being called chairman or the president, is because their value is derived from that particular position. This is why leaders in most of the time in our circle don't like to give away power. That's why they don't even mentor because they think the mentee becomes a threat to them. They think in mentoring they're actually giving away power.
Yeah.
Whereas, Shagun, the purpose of leadership, as we said before, is to reproduce leaders
To multiply
until
leaders.
until there is a reproduction of leaders. the leadership of the individual is not a successful one.
Exactly, exactly.
Look,
You know,
you can, we
this
can
is
best it.
even so simple. Even if you look at it from a religious angle, what was the instruction of Jesus? Go into the world and make disciples.
Yes,
Disciples and leaders. You are turning people, you are turning ordinary people into a leader of some sort. That was the mandate we received from Jesus, the mandate to multiply leadership.
absolutely. Just to crystallize my thought there, Shegun, and I will brief on this. You see, one of my observations is this: is that most people in positions of leadership have what I would call poor self-concept,
Mm,
meaning that they are not secure in themselves. Their sense of self is, to put it bluntly,
mm,
unhealthy.
mm,
They are usually afraid of the success of other people.
mm,
So they believe that for them to be big, they have to minimize others.
mm,
So when you talk about this idea of co-leadership,
mm.
it is a problem in the mind of an average people in a society. Like, to say, for example, look at this platform. If you don't have a healthy self-esteem, we won't be doing this together.
Exactly.
Because you think, oh, he's going to say something that is nice. No, but that is exactly the issue we're talking about. That is symptomatic
Yeah,
of insecure leaders who don't have a healthy self-concept,
yeah,
because they think it must always be about them.
exactly.
Whereas, Shagun, the visionary is only a delivery agent.
Mm, mm,
I'll put it this way, and I like this example a lot.
mm,
If you order something from Amazon.com
mm,
or from eBay.com
mm,
or from whichever shop,
mm.
and that shop will always have their delivery agent. They can use the post office, they can use anything.
Exactly.
Imagine that the postman who has your package, your parcel in his hand, think this is mine. I
Mm,
have to take it home first.
mm,
Imagine that kind of mindset.
mm.
Well, that's criminal, isn't it?
It is.
The success of that postman is to deliver the package to the addressee,
Yeah.
to say, here is your package,
Rightful owner.
to the rightful owner.
Mm,
Leaders are delivery agents. They are like postmen whose job is
yeah,
to deliver the value of the vision
yeah,
to the people.
yeah.
And their success is in successfully delivering it. Sometimes, Shagun, you may have an international freight
Mm,
where it starts from UPS.
mm,
UPS will carry, or DHL, they will have to deliver it to the nation,
mm,
and they have like an arrangement with the local postal agency that will then take it from them and go and deliver it to the house. Imagine that UPS says, okay, this thing, okay, I've delivered it to the local agency. And local agency say that, my own done better. This
mm.
is happy days. Let me take this thing and corner it into my house. Then there is failure of succession. There is failure of transfer of leadership value. True success will mean that DHL has done their own job, and the local delivery agent then takes it and take it to the addressee's house and say, here is your parcel. This is what we mean by succession, to say it comes from this so-called apex leader, but is able to have a system of continuity that takes the same value. That parcel has not changed,
Has not changed.
but you take that and say it has to get to the beneficiary.
Mm,
This is what we really mean by leadership succession.
mm,
Until it gets to the addressee, to the beneficiary, there is failure. No matter how we dress it,
exactly.
that that value has not been delivered.
Kunle, I think we are talking about something that is very, very important and crucial here. And I think we really need to zero it down uh, to something uh, very important. You mentioned earlier on, which I also alluded to, that the moment you get into a position, the first thing that you do is to find your exit out of that place first. And we've never shared that aspect of uh, my own style of leadership and your own style of leadership. We've never personally discussed about that before. I think that's also the same principle that I also work by. And Kunle, I just want us to make people understand how that process works. So if I may want to reframe that question in a way that will allow our people to see, oh, this is what these people are talking about. So I want to ask, what exactly does it need or does a leader needs to do to plan his or her exit from an organization? What do they need to do exactly?
Well, that is a question that is going to have a range of answers.
Yeah,
But I'll start with this, and I know you will enrich it.
yeah,
As we've been saying, and I think we've been hinting at it, the most important thing, or the reason why leadership exists, is to deliver the vision of purpose.
yeah,
That is, this is the purpose where we exist, and this is the vision, meaning this is how we see that purpose coming to fruition. What you see is what is called vision,
yeah,
but it is only a picture of the purpose.
yeah,
That is the reason why leadership exists in the first place.
yeah,
You can also say, if you want to use other simple words, that is, there must be something of benefit, of value, that is to be delivered to people. Let's be very clear about it. It ultimately has to do with people.
yeah,
You want to improve the life of people one way or the other.
yeah,
That's why leadership exists.
yeah,
Now, but in order to do that, there must be a what I would call clarity of that vision. It must be clear in your mind how you go about it.
yeah,
Then there has to be what a leader must be in order to deliver that purpose or
yeah,
that vision, which is what we have called values initially. Meaning, because I have to fly a plane to deliver the parcel, I cannot afford to be drunk. Otherwise, I'm going to crash the plane, and
exactly.
therefore,
Then you
both
lose
I,
all the
everything will be destroyed.
yeah,
Number two, I cannot be misbehaving at the wheel. I
yeah,
cannot turn that place into a place of playing cards.
yeah,
There are things that I have to relinquish in order for me to deliver that vision.
yeah,
We call those things the values
yeah,
that underpin and they're like the rail guards for leadership vision delivery. Okay. Having said all that, then there has to be an execution plan, meaning this is the plan with which we deliver this vision. And that plan will evolve over time. That should be adaptable, of course, but there must be a plan nonetheless. And then there is the team, because leadership is not a one man affair. One cannot multiply. No one human being is an island. So you can never deliver anything of value, anything of substance alone. So which means there must be a leadership team with whom you deliver the execution of that vision plan. And this is where the matter of succession now begins to come. That now you may have a team right now, and that team, there must always be this clarity that they will at best deliver only a part of this vision or a phase of it.
yeah,
Think about it from a project point of view. Sometimes you have a project to maybe electrify the whole city,
yeah,
and that's a huge undertaking,
yeah,
which is constrained by so many things. So, a wise leadership will say, just like you said that, when you are building that structure in Kebbi State, there must be a recognition that this work is daunting. You must embrace that reality
Yeah,
and say, we need to have a team that can, we need to look at the phases of this delivery
exactly.
and then look at the appropriate team for a particular phase. In
Exactly.
fact, even for that phase, you may have to evolve that team a number of times.
Exactly.
So, and that this is where the idea of leadership succession comes, that because this work is bigger than us, because true vision is always bigger than the visionary.
Exactly.
Therefore, we must have the ability to give this vision viability through its life cycle.
Mm.
Therefore, there must be those who come after us who can take this work further with integrity, with the same commitment, with the same value, with the same objective of improving the lives of people and carry it through. And if peradventure they too can't finish it, they must have the understanding, the mindset that they must also appoint the leadership team that can do it after them. The reason is this: true leadership is a generational exercise. Therefore, no single leadership team should think that things would only ever be done in their own lifetime or in their own phase of the work.
So,
So this is why, but in appointing the leadership team,
and
there
maybe to
must,
also add this, there is no time a leader should ever think that his own generation is the pinnacle of all that there is.
100%,
Yeah,
100%. Because fundamentally, when we talk about leadership succession, the real thing, what I'm really talking about is that there is the legacy of leadership.
yeah,
When we say legacy, we mean the ultimate value that that leadership work has to deliver. That's what we mean by legacy.
yeah,
That we must not lose sight of that end goal. That
exactly.
at the end of the day, the where we've come, where we operate, must be better than we met it.
And a leader must not be excited to leave a big shoe for people not to be.
No. So put it this way: if people start missing you after you have done your part, then you have not done it
It's a
well.
failure. That's a
You
failure.
have not done it well because the your value is not in people thinking, oh, we wish you are still here.
Yeah,
No, it's that they say, oh, thank God you are here, and
exactly.
you handed over the baton to us correctly.
Exactly.
Think
Exactly.
about a relay. My mentor used to like to use that example a lot. Look at a relay team where you have four
I
people.
love relay. I love relay so
Okay.
much.
Now somebody has to do the first leg.
Yeah,
And look, in a relay, success is measured by being able to handle the baton over to the
correctly.
next leg
Correctly.
legitimately, correctly, and in good time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, so this is the yardstick of measuring it. Now, when you run your part and you hand over the baton,
Yeah,
and the person receives it in a way that does not disqualify your team,
yeah,
that is when you have done your part.
yeah. And
But
then you step aside.
and you step aside.
You are not
But
running again. You are
but
not.
but
You are not following them again.
well, you are no longer in the active run,
Yeah,
but you are still in the race because
exactly.
the same baton has been passed on for other people
Exactly.
to do.
And
So
you have now become a cheerleader.
you become a cheerleader because the overall success is part of your success.
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
success of the next run is a continuation of your own effectiveness.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
when the whole team runs the race through
Yeah.
correctly
Yeah.
and breast the tape first,
Yeah.
then all of you
It's a
come together,
collective way. Yeah.
you rejoice together, you
Exactly.
cheer everybody on,
Exactly.
and you raise the same flag and say,
Exactly.
This is one team."
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to be the one. Imagine that somebody says, I'm going to start. And then when the time comes to pass on, they say, no, 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 I'm not tired yet. I'm not tired yet.
Oh my God.
And they say, please pass it on. Say, no, 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 step aside. Thomas, and you continue. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. No, I'm the most powerful. Not only will you embarrass yourself, you will disqualify your team, and guess what? That will be the last relay you're going to run because nobody's going to ever want you on the team anymore. So, so,
Uh,
so true leadership, I
mm,
mean, true success is actually in succession.
yeah,
And that's why we say that succession really is the
mm,
perpetuation of the
mm,
purpose and vision.
yeah,
And it is securing the legacy beyond your lifetime or your phase, your
yes,
active phase.
exactly. You can still be alive and still be witnessing
Absolutely.
progress
But
of
so for example,
vision.
but whatever happens, the people in Kebi,
Yeah,
the what's that place called? The
David Kirby.
Bini Kebi, there's a name we call
Yeah,
the
SCCF. The
NCCF.
yeah.
They will forever, I believe, at least for a long time, be enjoying the legacy. You are no longer there.
I've had a couple of maybe some of my mentees who have been to the family and they call, Reverend, we saw your picture in the family house. We say,
Yes, yes. Now you have moved on to other work,
yeah,
but the legacy of the work that was
yeah.
done in the previous time still
I have
exists.
had people call me and tell me they saw my picture there.
That's why I use the word active phase.
Yeah,
So a leader has an active phase and an inactive phase. The inactive phase is only effective when there has been successful
yeah,
leadership succession.
yeah,
So the joy, therefore, is yours as well as theirs,
yeah.
because what was built is still serving its purpose. Okay,
Exactly.
the purpose has not changed as it is to
That's-
house the people so
exactly.
that they have a place to call their own,
Exactly.
and a place where they will feel like, yes, this is,
As a
they're
family.
sheltered.
Exactly.
Okay. So that package has not been cancelled. It's still viable, and it has changed hands.
Almost 20, more than 20 years after.
Yes, which means for 20, there has been 20 cycles
Yeah.
of value delivery, which means
Yeah.
every year when a new batch, in fact, I would say 40 because there are usually two batches. So
Yeah.
batch A comes,
Yeah.
they go there.
Exactly.
Batch B comes, they
Yeah.
go there.
Yeah.
So that vision
Yeah.
has had 40 cycles
Yeah.
of value delivery.
Yeah.
And what you will hope for is that the people who are there right now
Yeah.
have enough good sense to know that they have to make that place better than they met it.
Exactly.
That's what we mean by leadership succession.
Exactly.
Now it doesn't matter whether it is in a building in Kebi or
Exactly.
or a local government or a
Exactly.
state government or a bank, or a school, it doesn't matter. Okay, think about our own alma mater, Ijebu Grammar School. The fact that when you go there, you still see 1938 block. It looks nothing like what it was when we were there.
Yeah.
Some people have come along and said, let us paint, let us refurbish this place.
Exactly.
So that our children that are yet to be born
Yeah.
can come there and say, this is the school of my grandfather.
Exactly.
This is what we are talking about.
Yeah.
So we are talking about. So leadership is obligated to mentor. So that's maybe I will end with that. That this succession planning
Yeah.
implicitly involves mentoring.
Exactly.
Mentoring is not an option for a leader.
Yeah.
Leadership development is not an option. The reason why, Shagun, you and I are very passionate about leadership,
Yeah.
there is no, at the end of the day, I don't do anything to do with leadership. And people will think, what's wrong? Look, you don't understand.
Yeah.
Look, leadership is obligated. It is a must for,
Exactly.
for leadership to mentor, because you know that it cannot stop with you.
Mm.
It just cannot stop with you. You must transfer, you must think generationally. If if you ignore other people's children, then your children will have to deal with people who have not had value added to them. So by nature, by almost as a necessity, I cannot afford to ignore other people's children. I have to invest in them. I cannot also afford to ignore people at my contemporary, because I don't know whether their children may create a problem for my own children if they did not have the input. So it is an obligation, Shegun. It's not a matter of choice. I mean, like it's not an option. It is an obligation because true leadership really is ultimately about reproducing leaders, not just maintaining followers. Listen, Shagun, people who want to maintain followers have to stay with them.
Yeah,
If you want to keep people down, you have to stay with them. It means you will never be able to go further.
exactly.
But if you add value to those who can multiply value, then you can go further and keep adding value, and you begin to see the compounding effect. And it's not, and I said this the other time. I was talking on a platform with some of our classmates, and I said something like, what you see on the street is really the failure of society. And somebody said, "Oh, should we now start expecting leadership? I mean, Agberos to understand leadership?" And I said, "No, no, you don't get it." But I didn't want to continue because you see, the idea is not to boil the ocean. No, a leader picks his own leadership team, a small enough circle that you can directly
Yeah,
add value to and develop and cultivate.
exactly.
Just like you was mentioning Jack Welch. In doing that, what you begin to have is you begin to have build competency. You begin to also influence people enough for them to be inspired to pursue noble value.
Exactly.
So before you know it, I mean, sometimes this job, let's be honest, is not always 100%. Some people will not get it. But
Exactly.
but if all you get is at each point 8%
Mm,
or 10% or say 25%, I will tell you where I got that from. Then at least you know that there is a crop
yeah.
of people who have the capacity to multiply that effect. The
And,
reason is the Shegun.
and Kunle, sorry to cut you short there.
Please carry on.
And you know that you don't really need a multitude of people to effect any change.
This is exactly my point, Shegun, that leadership work is not a crowd business.
Exactly.
This is why Shegun, I am not impressed by any environment that gathers a lot of crowd. It doesn't impress me at all. The reason is this. Think about it. If crowd business is how you change society, then Africa should be the most transformed society because we
And
like crowd
Nigeria in
business,
particular.
and Nigeria in particular should be because we really really love crowd business. But it is never about crowd. As a matter of fact, one of the greatest leaders the world has ever seen only appointed
Wow.
12 people minus one.
Yeah.
12 minus one. You can that mathematics is very simple. He knew that with 11 people,
Yeah.
the world can be transformed. He knew that
2,000 years after, the
2,000
world
years
is
after.
transformed.
That is true leadership in
Yeah.
motion. That's why you and I are still, we are part of the legacy of that leadership.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
and that shows that that is an effective
And
leadership.
and he didn't need to have his picture left behind
Let me
for
tell you something,
carrying
Shagun.
about.
Shagun, you and I, we do not know how tall Jesus is.
Yeah.
We do not know his complexion. We
Those
don't know.
those were not his priority.
Because those are simply unimportant. So if you go and draw a picture now and say, this is Jesus, I just say, keep your picture to yourself because that was never important. We
Exactly.
do not know what the house he lived in looked like.
Exactly.
That's why somebody one time said, good master, I want to follow anywhere you go. He said, let me tell you, let me disappoint you. I don't have a house.
And
So
he didn't have to do his transfer of leadership, his legacy through nepotic approach.
no, no,
He didn't
no.
have to do that. He
And
had
that's why,
direct step brothers and sisters.
yes. That's
And
why
then he
I
didn't
love the
have to
example
do.
you said that time that it did not have to be with your brother.
Yeah.
Because you see, sometimes people think that because of this insecure leadership that we talk about,
Yeah.
they think, I cannot afford to put this in the hand of other people because
Yeah.
they may just steal it away.
That is so. They want to commit it to their children, to their family member, to somebody they believe is very close to them.
And they talk about trust. But let me address that matter of trust. disappointment is part of the package of leadership development.
That's
So was Judas a disappointment?
it,
100%
but,
yes.
but it didn't stop the work.
But did that stop the work? No.
It didn't.
So disappointment is part of it. Heartbreak is part of it. So people say, I cannot afford to do
And
this.
even and Kunle, to even come to think of it, the disappointment did not just come from Judas alone. Part of it came from Peter.
Yes,
But Peter also denied him.
yes, yes. So
But he
because
came back again.
honestly, I'm sure we get to that point. Maybe not today. When you talk about the profile
Yeah,
of your leadership team and successors, there
exactly.
are different profiles.
Yeah,
But I know we don't have enough time to go into that today.
yeah,
And you begin to see that, hey, do not expect perfection.
exactly.
You are like a farmer
Exactly.
cultivating. You go through nursery. Remember when we used to plant tomatoes and
That,
pepper? You
that,
first start with the nursery, the bed. You do the bed.
yeah,
You put the seed there.
exactly.
Then as they grow, you now
Then,
start to do transplanting. I say,
yeah,
yeah. But that is a delicate process because that can determine whether the crop fail or not.
not, yeah.
But that nursery process is so important. And that's why we say that this leadership, this succession is a, I mean, as somebody who has worked in the poultry, we have dealt with day-old chicks and there. So you begin to understand that you are literally nurturing life.
Mm,
And you know that if only this chick can become a full-grown broiler, then we're going to have value.
mm,
And my success is this thing has to go to the market.
mm.
My pride is that it was nurtured. Now, notwithstanding the days that
Yeah,
soldier ants came, the
yeah.
day that snakes
Or
came,
the snake came.
or the day that scorpion came, or
Exactly.
the day that it was too hot,
Yeah.
or the day that it was too cold,
Hold. Yeah.
or
Or the day that
notwithstanding
never went out.
notwithstanding the day that thieves also come.
Yeah. To come and steal.
So still,
Oh
and
my
it
God.
is in the midst of all of this.
Yeah.
So you can see the joy of the farmer that this big white brawler with huge red comb,
Mm,
and you feel the immense pride that yes, it was all worth it. So it's a kind of cultivation. No wonder, Shagun. Do you know? I mean, I keep thinking about it. Why did God choose someone like David,
mm,
who had the privilege of having lambs being born into his hand,
mm,
and see them nurtured to become mothers themselves, and then see them being attacked by snakes, by foxes,
by
by
all.
wolves,
Mm,
by lions, by bears, and then fighting through it and say, "No, you're not going to take one of my sheep. You are not, it won't happen again."
yeah.
There was a reason why God chose him because there's a kind of mindset. David knew that everything he was doing it for the viability of this whole livestock. This sheep must live. No wonder Jesus also, he said that a true shepherd actually gives his life for the sheep. He said it's not like the hireling who, as soon as he sees danger, he ran away.
I
No, he
mean,
said, no. He says, no, no, not here, not on my watch. And this kind of mentality is not one that is thinking, well, nobody's there. Let's just roast one of these lambs. Let's do some suya. No, it never crossed the mind of David to kill any of those sheep and say, let me just, my Pekin is hungry. No, no. It was about their preservation, that they must not be lost nor die in my hands. This is the fundamental qualification of leadership and would be successors. If you are not interested in adding value to the people, in improving their lives, you don't belong in leadership. Take yourself out.
so Kunle, let's talk about because this really breaks my heart. Somebody will work for like let's say 4 years, in the case of a political leader, for example, or even a church leader who has worked in the ministry for, like, say, 20 or even 30 years as a bishop, for example. And then it's that point in time that you need to step out of the way so that other people can take over from you, from where you have stopped. And then you begin to see some of these leaders literally sabotaging the work that they have done. You know, Kunle, I have seen this happen over and over again. Not only in the political space, I have witnessed it even in in a sacred space like the church space. And this really breaks my heart. Why do you think that some leaders will go to such a length to us rising up to sabotage the work that they have built by themselves just because they feel that their affection, their affinity to that office is not yet over?
It's very simple, Shagun.
Mm,
Leadership belief,
mm, mm. Ownership mentality.
ownership mentality. If you think this is all about me,
Mm,
I own it,
mm,
then
mm,
you will think instead of me to pass it on,
mm,
ah, instead of me to lose it, I will just destroy it.
mm.
I will allow the building to
If the
collapse.
majesty say,
Yes, I was thinking exactly that. I will appreciate our Danoni.
I wish I were that.
I was thinking exactly about that same proverb.
Yeah.
You know, that was
Mm.
because of the of ah, I would call it a damaged perspective of leadership,
Entitlement mentality,
entitlement, a sense of ownership.
ownership.
I would say I would even call it something, and that's how Jesus said it. He said, "Leave them alone.
Mm.
They are blind guides,
At
and
least
if the blind lead the blind, they will fall into the ditch."
mm.
This is why, Shego, when somebody's leading us or leading anyone at all, and I'm saying it to all of our audience,
Mm.
don't ask, don't be enamored first. First ask, number one, can you see? Because your
uh,
leader may not even be seeing. That's
mm,
why I just said it is possible for the blind to
mm,
also lead the blind.
mm,
But the second question is also important.
mm,
And where are you taking us?
mm,
Because if the person is blind,
mm.
I think the future is already predicted
Yeah, it's gonna be
that
in the ditch.
in the ditch is the destination of everyone that is following.
Mm,
But the third thing is also important, that if you don't see that your leader is blind, it means that you too must be blind.
mm,
And these things are very important.
mm,
When people destroy their own legacy,
mm.
it can only mean one thing: they did not understand the purpose of leadership in the first place.
That's right.
They did not know that it was about empowering people.
Mm,
They did not know or understand
mm,
that it's about um, helping people, growing people. They did not, or somehow their sight became affected because somebody can start well and you think, start well, but somewhere they went rogue.
mm.
Something happened in the way, and however you look at it, it is really poor leadership, bad leadership. In fact, bad leadership. It means somehow, somewhere along the way, or maybe right from the outset, they really did not have any vision of making life better for the people. And they thought that it was always about them. They thought that this is only for my benefit. And Shagun, And that there are a lot of examples, sadly, around us that point to that. That if I cannot retain this place, we'll cancel everything.
We have to,
We,
we have
we,
to,
we will break the whole house down. We will burn it down. Well, even though let me say that I don't know the objective facts, but and this is before I was born. Some people told us that there was a time when people said, you know what, the whole of the Western Nigeria, we just burn the whole thing down
yeah,
because
yeah.
people could not see.
That was what the plan was. That led to the 1966 coup.
Yes. Now
That, that was the
and because I don't have all the facts, particularly because people always tell story from their own
I
perspective
had
alone.
gone to read the historical accounts, and
Well, Shagun, see, there's something about stories. It depends on the motivation of the person that is telling it. So that's
I,
why I say because I was not an eyewitness,
well,
and I do,
I've
and I
also I've also checked multiple sources too, and
yeah,
they're all saying the same.
yeah. But for whatever reason, these people came to a conclusion that the only way to address this is to burn the whole thing down.
Yeah,
It means something went wrong with their sight, with
yeah,
their vision of value for the people.
yeah.
Isn't that also the reason why sometimes people then say the only way to sort this out is to go into descend into civil war and
Mm,
destroy lives
mm,
and everything that we have built with our hands?
mm.
Somehow, people in positions of leadership forgot that it's all about improving the quality of the lives of people. And this is why when we see these things happen, it can only sadden the heart that do you mean that you would literally destroy the very ground on which you stand just to prove a point? And we've seen this happen again and again. And sadly, it is still happening. So that's why I have put it in the very in my to my mind, it's just defective leadership. Defective leadership. When you think I must make it as hard as possible for those who are coming after me so that they can call him more, so that they can know my value. So that they can know that, yes, I was so important.
Yeah,
It's a small mindedness,
mm,
it's myopic thinking,
it is.
and it's always a problem of sight.
Mm,
That's why we say that every leader leads out of their belief system.
exactly.
If that belief system is defective, the future of the society, of the organization is already jeopardized. It's just a matter of time.
Mm,
So it means then that the real work to be done, that's why we say that it is it is philosophical in a way,
mm,
and it's also cultural because culture really is the culmination of all the belief system.
exactly.
So the place to begin from, like I always say, is not to boil the ocean, but to start with small groups
Mm,
that are committed to intentional transformation. That's why I like a platform like this and all the various other platforms that we are privileged to lead. That just small people. It's not the crowd.
it's
I
not.
found out that crowd business most of the time is all about
It's just
expediencies.
dopamine elevating. Um, it's something that just excites our imagination. It is a compensation for success
Yeah.
where there is no actually success.
Yes. So think about it. The crowd most of the time just want something to eat.
Yeah,
So and then when you reduce the human being to just food,
mm,
there is no worse insult that you give to them.
yeah,
This is why when you see politicians who, when it comes to electoral cycle,
mm,
and they bring in bag of rice,
mm.
a bag of gari, of beans, there is no worse. Ah,
Somebody called it stomach infrastructure.
yes, but it is
Ah,
the
the day I heard that word, I was broken.
it is
I
the
was heartbroken.
it's a way to reduce a human being to their basic needs.
Yeah.
You know, think about Maslow hierarchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then at the very bottom is
Yeah.
what shall we eat? What
It's
shall we drink?
biological
So by
needs.
the time you take people who actually, and I'm using that word actually as a pun,
Yeah.
because self-actualization is at the top.
Yeah.
When you
Them to survivor.
yes, when you reduce them to the survivor part of their existence,
Yeah.
it shows you have no
You
value
have,
for
you have,
them.
you have, you have really broken them.
You have no value for them whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's how you treat your dog, is that not? So when you have a dog, what do you think about your dog?
Now, even the people in the Western world don't even treat their dogs that
Well,
way.
interestingly, yeah, so you see some people they wear coats for their dog.
Exactly.
Their dog will go to hotel and put their dog in the hotel, in the five-star hotel,
Telling you they will
right?
sleep on the bed and then
Yes, yeah.
they treat their dog nicely.
Well, so in some places, yeah, it's worse than how people treat their dogs. So
Yeah.
you reduce people to the animalistic instinct.
Yeah.
It shows how much you value them. That in fact you do not value them at all. And if you don't value us, you don't qualify to lead us. You
Yeah.
really don't. You don't.
Thank you, Kunle. I think we also need to stress this a little more. Uh, obviously, when it's time uh, to plan for successor to make succession plan happen, there are other things that could come up. There could be bias. There could be favoritism. There could be even unbiased, unfair selection of the candidate. Well, I'm I'm from Ijebu. I would say I'm from Ijebu because my great great grandfather migrated from a timetable in Ijebu to our village. So whether you want to look at it, I am still from Ijebu because I have that historical record of the migration of my great grandfather,
Yes, yes.
both from my father's side and from my mother's side. They actually my mother's side of my father's side and my father's side of my father's side.
So you're a yes, true son of the soil.
Exactly. So we are from a turntable. And somehow you can actually see that my father's side family and my father's mother's side family, they are also families within themselves. So, and which clearly justify that story that they are from
Yeah,
turntable. So
yeah.
now, what I was trying to say is that even though I am from Ijebu, you can see what is happening. Currently, I heard a news this week that the governor of Ogun State has suspended the selection process of the selection of Awujale because he said that from the headquarters that they said it is so person that must be, and then the Afobaje said no, this cannot happen. This is not the process we want to follow. And he said if they are not ready to follow that process, then the stool of Awujale will have to wait. And they said, we don't care how long it will wait. We will wait until the right person, the person we want, emerges through our process. I was kind of doing thumb up for those Afro-Magians. I said, these are the true people of Ijebu land because if there is a process in place and they have sworn to follow the process, then the why cutting corners? Why trying to say Baba Soipe or trying to bring in another dimension to the selection process? So I just want you to help us understand the negative impacts that some of these kind of biases would have in the execution of our succession planning process. bias mentality, favoritism, nepotism, and unfair selection of candidates.
I think I will use your own very word to answer that, Shego. You used one word that time, ownership, a
Yeah,
sense of ownership.
yeah,
Now, if you believe you own the people,
yeah,
that you own everything, therefore you have the right to, let me use this word, dictate to them. Then that's exactly what you're going to do.
yeah,
You see, uh, now I always say this in the spirit of fairness that we've not had a reply from the from the leadership of the state. So the in any case, in every case we look at,
yeah,
the opponent also has the right to reply. And
yeah,
because we've not had that, we can only say we only heard allegedly. We use that word. So, and because we only saw videos, and in
yeah.
this day and age, who knows what can happen with videos? So we'll just say, for the sake of fairness and balance, that
Okay.
allegedly. However, assuming that that was the case,
Yeah,
then it can only be symptomatic of something,
yeah,
which is that you say, as we are saying, that true leadership understands that the role of leadership is not dictating
yeah,
to followers, but developing followers.
yeah.
And the reason why you develop followers is that you are thinking about not even just the current generation, but you are thinking about the generation to come. Because Ijebode is older than all of us.
Uh,
Ogun State is older than all of us. Nigeria is older than all of us. Well, at least the soil is older than all of us. Therefore, you are going to do your part and get off the road so that other people can come. So, so you must then think about those generations that are to come so that the legacy of what you do makes their life better. They can say, thank God you came along because you make things even better for us. And so what did they do? They celebrate you. They say, thank God for our forefathers. Now we speak about Jack Welch's story with delight,
yeah,
only because of his legacy.
yeah.
Till today, I talk about Dr. Marshmallow with delight
Mm,
because of his legacy.
mm.
And sometimes what we need to remind all of our leaders is that you are you're very temporal.
Exactly.
you know, and then, and
Oh my God, I'm loving this.
we just have to remind them gently. You
Yeah,
say,
yeah, yeah.
sir, with all due respect, you're very temporal. no,
Oh
uh,
my God.
let's say you are 60 years old already now,
Mm,
and God blesses you. Maybe under 60 years come out, then
yeah,
then you have to exit the scene.
yeah.
But
Even
there is
a time will even be a time will even come when you become so old that you will literally have to beg death to take you.
yes. So and that is one of the things I wanted to say, that true leaders are always aware of they're conscious of their mortality.
Yeah,
They know that they only have
the time
a face,
a frame of
a time frame
time frame.
which to do their own part.
Yeah,
And whatever they do in that time is what we are going to remember about them.
yeah.
They say that the king that rules
Mm,
and the wilderness becomes a thriving garden or a thriving city, will always remember them. Conversely, the king that turns a thriving city to a barren land, they too will not be forgotten. So this is why we always should characterize leadership with this adjective. I call it true. So I like to say true leadership. I don't want to say true leadership because there are different kinds of leadership, and we have seen what leaders of different kinds have already done to us and to our society. So we should now only be talking in terms of true leadership. That true leaders they think about the generation next. It's not just about what they do. They think, I have to preserve. I am obligated to preserve. I have to think generationally. They know that it is not about my dictating, but development. And it's also that whatever I do must not create problem for not only in the immediate term, but also for successive time. Think about it. We know about uh, the Awujale of blessed memory. I mean, most of what we know about him is only respectable.
Very
For
respectable.
yeah, not only the fact that this was one of the longest reigning monarch
Yeah.
in the whole of the nation.
He is never afraid to stand alone.
In fact, can I even say, I think globally, wait, is there any king globally that was on the throne for 60, upward of 50, 65 years? I'm not sure. If there are, maybe just we can count them on one hand.
Mm.
So, which means globally, it was one of the longest reigning monarch
Yeah.
in the whole world.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Mm.
And look at what that throne stands for,
Yeah.
the respect it has all over Nigeria and beyond.
Mm.
Now, if someone then says, I'm going to utterly damage all that that stands for,
Mm.
you have to ask yourself, to what end?
Mm.
Is it actually worth it?
Mm.
And this is how
The man transcended tradition to the point that he decided how he would want to be buried.
yes.
So
Whether people agree with
literally,
that or not, but
literally changing tradition.
literally so. So and that in itself is something noteworthy.
Yeah.
So you see, leaders must always act as visionaries,
Yeah.
as delivery agents,
Yeah.
not as owners.
You know,
This
it kind of removed the mysticism around the the death and the passage of kings by
yeah,
that part.
yes.
So that is
Even though some people don't agree
yeah,
with that aspect, that maintain the traditional
yeah,
culture, but nonetheless,
yeah,
what it did
yeah.
was absolutely I would probably say transformational.
Yeah, transformational. Yeah, yeah,
So and that tells you a lot about the what we are trying to deal with here is
yeah,
beyond just one generation.
yeah,
It's in fact it, and see again allegedly now, not it's not the first time we hear that maybe you know the powers that be try to influence matters of kingship. It won't be the first time, and
yeah.
I'm sure it won't be the last time.
Yeah, it won't be the first time. That's true.
However, there is a reason why these tools exist,
Mm,
where there's a reason why these things have been preserved for generations.
mm,
And if you cannot make it better, say
yeah,
certainly don't make it worse.
yeah,
So, and whatever all of our leaders are doing is doing one of those. Is either making it worse or making it better. They have to decide for themselves.
mm.
And I will not say more than that.
Fully, I think we've said a lot today. Most of the other questions I would have loved to ask, we've already in one way or the other delve into them, but there is this one more last question that I just want us to explore together, which I think will conveniently wrap up some of the areas we've not been able to touch on. I think we also wanted to go in that direction earlier on, but I said, hey, let's wait uh, till the last moment because uh, the last wine is always preserved for, how do we put it now?
The best wine is
Best
always
wine is always reserved for the last. for the last moment. So now let's talk about the role of power, legacy, and identity. You know, these are the things that these are the issues that usually comes up when you talk about succession, leadership, and leadership role. There is leadership always involves is an interplay between power, legacy, identity. So let's look at these three interface and how and let's look at the role that they play in the evolution of a successor through a succession plan. How exactly do we want to say? Because for me, if I look at a company, I'll just use that as an example. I know you also mentioned Microsoft, which I also have as one of my points too. Let's take Apple, for example. Apple, when Apple began, of course, they ran into some challenges. Steve Jobs left the company, he went on his way, he was doing his own thing. And then, for some reason, those who planned for him to leave the company, some of them decided, hey, if we truly want to save this company, we have to go and return back the king back to his palace. And then they did that. They humbled themselves. They went to bring back the man. And he was glad to be back in the company because Apple was the soul of Steve Jobs himself. He came back to the company, did a lot of massive transformation in the company. And all through the time that he was the face of the company, there was another man that was kind of not too far away from the public eye, but everybody knew, at least for me, I knew that if anything happens to this man, this is the man that was going to take over from him. And that was Tim Cook, who is still the CEO of Apple today. Now, Apple did something very surprising. Some people have complained about his leadership style. Well, I don't have all the details, but I think Steve Jobs is the man that I love and I admire him so much. He was a great leader. At a point, he couldn't go further again in his leadership, and he needed to step down. He didn't have to struggle for who would step into the shoe. The moment he stepped down, Tim Cook stepped in, and he has been there for close to 15, even more than 15, yeah. close to 18 years now as CEO of Apple. 18 years or thereabout of as CEO of Apple. Or no, about 15 years. Let's say about 15 years or 15, 16 years as CEO of Apple. Now, what I'm trying to bring out is this. You could literally see that Apple was a company that was not just being seen as Steve Jobs thing, even though as at the time Steve Jobs was there, it looked as if Steve Jobs was everything about the company. But the moment Steve Jobs stepped out of the company, Apple never lost its identity.
Yeah.
And that for me is massive.
They have created more products.
Yeah, they created more.
They have expanded.
Exactly.
But they have not lost their essence.
Exactly. And this is what Kunle we are trying to project through this podcast, that you can literally do your succession plan. Even though there is exchange of baton, there is still no loss of identity and legacy.
Yes. 100%. And I think you summed it perfectly. I almost have nothing else to add other than to say that you hit the nail on the head, because you say leadership. You say if I'm to and I'm going to try and broaden this, because I know is we're coming to the last leg of this conversation, and I'm going to say this to everyone listening on this platform, that one thing we have to remember is this, that leadership has more to do with legacy
Yeah,
than projects.
yeah, projects. Mm.
You see, the greatest obligation of leadership is to transfer. You see, that's why I
Mm.
like that Barton exchange, is to
Yeah,
transfer
yeah.
your deposit,
Mm.
the parcel in your hand,
Mm.
to the next generation.
Mm.
You don't change the parcel, just like the postman does not change the parcel.
Yeah.
The customer knows what he has ordered.
Mm.
You are a delivery man. However, you bring your expertise, you bring your know-how, you bring all your values, your punctuality, your discretion to bear, not to change the product, which is what you mean by identity, the essence, the 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 purpose
The
of
core,
the organization, the
the core
core
of the
of the organization.
organization.
You retain it, but you transfer that whole package to the next generation by with the combination of uh, the your knowledge base, your value system, your experience, you transfer to the next generation with the expectation that the generation that comes after will improve. They will face their own unique conditions.
Exactly.
In fact, it can be industry 6.0 in their own time.
Yeah.
Just like we've gone through many generations of industries, now we are in industry 4.0. And I think it will be a very short switch between industry 4.0 and 5.0. It's going to be very rapid.
Exactly.
But regardless,
Mm.
you're still you're still preserving
Mm.
the essence. And I prefer the word essence than the word tradition.
Mm.
You're preserving the
Mm.
essence, the core value of that organization.
Mm.
This is true for families,
Mm.
as it is true for corporations,
Mm.
as it is true for nation states, as it is true for every other sphere in which we deal.
Mm.
Leadership has more to do with that legacy.
Mm.
The project we do, see, a project will always have a start and finish time.
Mm.
And when you do a project, is to either create a
Mm.
service or a product
Mm.
or to improve existing ones.
Mm.
So you will always do all those
Mm.
intermittent,
Mm.
dynamic, value adding activities. So, but you never change the essence. So a rightful successor is one who understands the the um, preservation of that essence.
What is the core of our business?
Yes, yes, that's it. I understand what we stand for.
Mm.
We will evolve, we will hire more hands from anywhere in the world, but we will never change that.
We will innovate, but we will
We will
never change
innovate, but we will
our
never change.
essence. Yeah.
We will never change that core thing, because that is our lifeblood.
And that is who we are.
This is who we are.
Mm.
This is, think about Guinness, even though I don't drink alcohol, but but let me tell you what I like more about Guinness. I'll tell you.
I understand.
1759.
Yeah,
Well, anytime I hear something, I just get
they are
excited.
always proud of that one.
Oh, my.
Is it 1749?
1759. I can't forget that. I just like when anytime I see that harp shape and I see something, I
You
just
know,
get
that
excited.
tells you that this is a preserved
Look at how many generations.
yeah,
That thing excites me so much.
yeah.
I don't care about the alcohol in it. Honestly, I really don't care. But to see something, I haven't gone like that.
Yeah.
Woo, I honestly, I get so excited about it. So, and that's what we're talking about. They have not changed.
They haven't.
Now they have produced alcohol-free 0.0 version now, but you still see that herb, and you know that herb. Anytime you see it, you know
Yeah.
1759 is
Yeah.
still alive.
Yeah.
The original owner, Mr. Guinness, foremost, has long gone,
Yeah.
yet he lives.
Yeah.
You see,
His
true
legacy.
leaders never dies. They
Yeah.
continue to live through their legacy.
With their legacy.
And that really is the point.
Now, just to also deepen the conversation we are talking about, I know you also mentioned Microsoft at the beginning. Same thing in our lifetime is also now Steve Jobs had died. So
Yes.
we can even give it to them that okay, because he has died. Now Bill Gates is still alive. He has relinquished the leadership of Microsoft. Only as I speak today, Microsoft has not lost its essence.
No.
It hasn't.
As a matter of fact, Shego, the way you measure your true leadership effectiveness is the ability to walk away.
Yeah, walk away. Yeah.
Shego, let me
When
say
I
this.
see people can walk away from their leadership position, I think I respect such people.
It is better not to stay long enough
Yeah,
than to stay too long.
yeah. Mm, mm,
Those who stay too long,
mm,
they ultimately do damage
mm,
to the organization that they're trying to hold on to.
mm.
True leaders don't really try to hold on to things too much. No, no, no. They because they don't define themselves by that thing. So they don't really their hands are very they I mean they are don't get me wrong, they are very diligent.
Yeah,
What their hand finds to do, they do with their might, but
exactly.
they don't hold on like this is my life. No, it's not their life.
Mm,
They can always walk away. That's why Steve Jobs
mm.
walked away
Yeah.
and what let me say it in the words of Jesus.
Mm,
Say, no man takes my life from me.
mm.
My
I
father
lay it
told me
down. Yeah, I lay
that
it
I can
down
lay it down
and take it up
and take
again.
it again. So that's why my father loves me because I lay it down willingly.
Yeah, yeah,
That's a true leader speaking.
yeah.
Let me tell you that one. Another one says, I don't know whether I should stay or I should go. But you know what? I think it's good for you
For
that
your
I stay.
benefit. For
That's
your
how
benefit.
that's
I
how
will
true leaders
say
speak.
exactly.
That's exactly how true leaders speak.
Yeah.
Because they know that listen, there is life beyond the leadership position.
Mm,
So someone like me now, if you try to threaten me with a position, I
mm,
just smile inside because I'm thinking if you stop that one, I
mm.
just go to the next thing. honestly honestly in my mind, that's my mind has been, I just think, okay, next phase.
Yeah.
So if you say, oh, we will, uh, honestly, the only thing I don't want is to be shamed out of a place, meaning that I did something bad. Therefore, I have to be expelled. But otherwise, I don't really. Honestly, look.
Yeah,
Look,
fully. I think we need to to wrap up now. But before we wrap up, we have to. Uh, the Yoruba people will say we have to. Adela to soju abeniku.
that's right.
That can be very painful
Yes.
when you give a knock to a pointed needle. That
Mm.
can it can be suicidal.
It can. It can be
But
very.
I
It
never.
can be very injurious.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I think it's something that is worth talking about. Now, let's talk a little bit about succession in the church.
Mm.
Now, there are three.
Do we have to talk about this?
No, no, we're not talking about.
I'm joking.
We're not
Uh,
talking about specific.
no, no. I'm joking. I'm
Yeah,
joking.
okay. So, but in talking about succession in the church, I want to present three three different categories of churches that we are referring to. Number one, Roman Catholic Church. Number two, historical churches like Anglican, Methodist,
The Protestant.
Baptist, Protestant, Lutheran,
Yes.
and all those ones, they are historical churches. And then number three, the Pentecostal churches.
And by extension, the charismatic movement.
Yeah, Pentecostal stroke charismatic movement. Now let's look at the uh, succession plan in Catholic Church.
Mm.
Kunle, I know in the past they've paid their dues. That is one thing people need to understand. There have been chaotic moments in transiting power in Catholic Church in their historical past.
Yes.
But over the years they've evolved.
Mm.
Kunle, each time there is a process whenever there is a need, at least I've witnessed about 3 or 4 pope that have evolved, that I've been aware of. Maybe 3. Maybe I wasn't too conscious during Pope John Paul, but I was very conscious during Benedict and then Pope Francis, then Leo. So which those ones are 3. When these 3 people emerged as Pope, Kunle, did you hear any wrangling? Did you hear any? Did you even have any suspicion that this is the likely candidate to emerge?
Structure, process.
It never happened. The eye of the public, no public observer had an inkling of who was going to emerge as a pope. At least in those 3 instances that I've mentioned, Pope Benedict, Pope Francis, and currently Pope Leo. Yeah. It never happened.
Yes.
And that tells you a lot.
A lot, because they have a system that has defined processes and structures to produce successors.
Yeah. And this is what we are talking about. That there has to be a structure, there has to be a process in place, and the process does not have to be biased. It does not have to be nepotic. It does not have to be done as a result of favoritism or through unfair selection process. Mm. You know, I just completely fall in love, even though I don't agree with all the things they do in Roman Catholic Church, but that aspect of their existence, I think I really love it.
Yeah, you're right, because they've evolved to have. I mean, like you said, they've had serious crises in time past, in centuries past, that could have utterly destroyed the whole thing.
Exactly.
But they matured out of it.
Yeah.
And they now have a system, a structure, and processes that they all respect.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah. And that's why they're still viable, and that's why, again, they are more respected than all of the other organizations combined.
Yeah.
In fact, they are the only ones I know that interface as they do a government to government dealings with most nation states.
Yeah.
They are the only ones. There's the Methodist body does not have that.
Yeah.
Anglican does not.
Yeah.
The Catholic is the only such organization that deal as a government to government dealings with other nations.
Yeah.
So that says it all. The others, I think the other institutions.
Yeah. The historical churches, they are trying their best. They are far better than the Pentecostal churches, but there are still bottlenecks.
I think that let's say they're in their different
Yeah, yeah.
stages of evolution.
Pollution. Yeah.
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 So maybe, who knows? Maybe, maybe the latter shall become first, and the first shall become last. Who knows?
But I also think well, I've been a I still consider myself a Pentecostal because since the day of Pentecost, the Holy Spirit has
Yeah,
never left.
you are a Penty Protestant.
I still consider myself as a Pentecostal, even though I belong to the historical tradition,
Yeah,
historical church tradition.
yeah,
But the fire of the Pentecost is still very much alive within me. And I still have the worldview of an average Pentecostal person. So, but one thing that is really worrisome in the Pentecostal arena is how the the transitioning from one leader to another, how they evolve that. I think there is still a lot of maturing. They need to evolve that process. They need to, everything cannot just be dependent on God said, as far as I am concerned. Everything cannot just be dependent on, okay, God said this is going to be the success, and that is. So how are we going to judge that it was truly God who said so? Sometimes when you see the the outcomes of what God said, you begin to wonder if God truly says so. I know you understand what I'm saying.
yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you. It's the same way. It's the same way the traditional school
Because
say,
that is the weapon that is being often used
yes, yes,
to do succession plan in
yeah.
Pentecost. I'm not saying God cannot say,
Mhm.
but what we are saying is that this thing works better if there is a process and procedure in place.
Yeah. And I think you've already hit the nail on the head that it's a maturation process,
Yeah.
of which um, they are not as they've not had the same kind of mileage
Yeah.
that the Catholics of this world already have. And listen, to me, what I will always find is level.
Yeah.
We've had many transitions that you find that there's a huge fight
Yeah.
in many of the
Yeah.
you can call them Pentecostal or charismatic. You
Right.
hear
All
you
that right touches.
yeah, a lot of tussle, and then eventually, ultimately, what cannot stand will have to fall away.
Yeah.
That's always been the, if any structure cannot stand,
Mm,
it will fall away ultimately,
mm,
and only that which can stand we endure. And this is what will have to happen. No one can circumvent that process.
mm,
No matter how, even God says, I will shake the heavens, and the
mm,
things that will stand, that the things that really should endure. In other words, the ones that are, you know, not sure-footed will fall away ultimately. It is the natural order of things. It is the spiritual order of things as well. It is God's design. So, which means if somebody does not build his house, and I'm speaking in a parabolic fashion now, if a house is not built on a rock, inevitably the rain will fall, the flood will rise, the wind will blow, and whatever does not stand upon the rock will fall away. That rock, I mean, that wind can be governmental influence, can be societal influence, it can be economic, it can be political, it can be pretty much anything. So in other words, there will always be a testing that will come, and testing is not necessarily a problem. The word testing is really literally checking for weakness. It's also reward for temptation. Is you test for, it's like a stress test so that you can this thing stand? And inevitably every structure will go through that. And but if you ask me, I would say that all organizations, whether it is the traditional ones, as we've said, or the historic ones, or even the Catholic or the Pentecostal, there has to be a renewed focus on leadership development. If I have the opportunity, one thing I would love to do is literally to partner with as many churches to raise leadership consciousness, and particularly to talk about true leadership essence that is that comes out of the mind of Christ as he showed us the example, so that we can tailor and correct some of our practices to align with the example that he showed us. If we don't do that, Shagun, it is guaranteed most things will fall away. It is a guarantee. The reason is this: I'm observing what is going on in. If you look at the influence of the things around, a thought has been coming to my mind, particularly in the last week or two, that most of the things that we've taken for granted will change.
Definitely.
I think the COVID period was
Yeah.
more like a quick sample of that. But okay, but Shegun, let's be very honest with you. Let's be
Yeah.
honest with you. Most of the things that we currently take for granted, particularly in church,
Yeah.
are going to change.
Definitely. I agree with you completely.
It's been
Completely.
coming to my mind a lot. I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking,
Well, it's gonna happen.
how do we need to reposition?
But it's just a question of time. It's gonna
Yeah.
change.
So, which means the only way to
There has
secure,
to be a way of putting check and
yeah,
balances in place to checkmate
we
some of
have
the
to
strategies.
go back to the things that can endure.
Yeah.
If we don't, then it means that most of the things we have are shaky, and then when there's more shaking, they just fall away.
Yeah. Now, Kunle, on the final note, I feel very strongly in my mind that this conversation will not be complete without mentioning these two very important personality. They are they are two of the greatest leaders that I admire personally. They have different philosophy, different approach to doing things, but with a very with a very high return in their approaches, even though one seems to be more efficient than the other one, but not to not to undermine the result of the other person, and that is Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. Now, I think we need to draw the attention of our viewers, our audience, to these two men. And the reason why it is important is because Jeff Bezos at first was the leader in Amazon. And after a while, he stepped out, went into Origin, Blue Origin, a space exploration company. Of course, obviously, to compete with Elon Musk. He's doing well. He has achieved some landmark. He has achieved some milestone achievements in that space within the few time that he has stepped away from Amazon as their CEO. Now, Amazon is still thriving, which tells you that he has been able to effectively put a successor in place, which is very good. He has gone into Blue Origin. We don't know how if he's going to do that when he feels that his assignment is complete in that space. But there is this man that has enamored me. He has completely transformed, and I will even say he has transcended the way I see life, I see myself, the way I see what could be possible, even in the face of people saying it cannot be done. And that is Elon Musk. You mentioned at the beginning of this conversation, though you didn't mention his name, you said somebody could be leading 5 companies simultaneously and he will be doing exactly well. And it won't even feel as if he's even doing anything. And that's a big red flag, Kunle. I know Elon Musk is very successful. He's the richest man in the world today. He's worth over $500 billion today. Uh, he has achieved a lot, but I still have a concern. Where is the succession plan? Until Elon Musk is able to do that, uh, I still have that big worry about his achievements. How is he going to do it? I don't know how he's still going to do it. It seems he's still at the consolidation stage of his own work. I don't feel he has finished yet. He's still consolidating. But when he eventually finishes his assignment, how is Elon Musk going to think about the succession of those companies? Okunle, are you not worried?
Well, I won't exactly use the word worry.
Yeah,
Interestingly, these are people that play in the industry that's very close to my space.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I know that space very well, and I listen to them quite, very well. Autonomous systems is one of them. Um, what do you call robotics? Definitely, and other fields like that. So let's not go into all the details. But the point is, these are highly successful individuals, are very high performant
yeah,
leaders, and I think both of them see themselves as being still very active
yeah,
in the active phase
yeah,
of their delivery,
yeah,
and even when it comes to satellite technologies, for example. Um, so someone like Elon Musk is doing like the is targeting both the business space and the I'll call it retail satellite delivery,
yeah,
whereas um, Bezos wants to move into strictly the the satellite internet delivery that will power what you call the um, uh, that's the word we use. So it's targeting a different market space, more or less. I will excuse the details. But my point is they are still very much active.
yeah,
And the truth of the matter is that their level of involvement may differ
mm,
based on their personality.
yeah,
But one thing I know is that both of them definitely have solid and robust management teams
yeah. They do.
behind them. Oh, otherwise they can't be successful.
Yeah, they
I
can.
haven't said that. Yes, their personalities differently.
Sometimes, having a strong management team is not the same as having a
No,
truly
no, no. You're right.
uh,
You're right. So
so,
someone like someone like Elon Musk, because of his personality and his energy, people like that, it takes them a bit of time to devolve power.
yeah,
Yeah, because of his personality.
yeah,
Now the question is, how is he going to manage that? Is the space we're all watching.
yeah,
Uh, as a matter of fact, see, they also operate let me explain. Let me put it this way: they are operating in a quantum,
mm.
in a space that is changing almost at a quantum level.
Yeah, and they are able to keep up
Yes, yes,
that
uh,
uh,
yes. So,
pace.
for example, just a hint. Part of what Tesla wants to do, and it's already in America, for example, is to have autonomous vehicles
Yeah,
to almost change the face of transportation. That's number one.
yeah,
And number two is changing the face of robotics,
yeah,
particularly the brain of robots,
yeah,
so that you have this Optimus, they call it Optimus system, that literally does everything the very best among human beings can do,
yeah,
such that in a short space of time, highly specialized roles can be entirely be replaced by robots.
yeah,
And his vision is to have this robot created in billions,
yeah, yeah,
i.e., so
yeah.
so that there are even more robots than human
And
beings,
human, yeah,
right? And he wants them to be so nimble that in about 5 years, between 3 to 5 years, one of these Optimus robots can is better than the very best surgeon,
mm,
collectively.
mm,
So these are the kind of things. So they are going through what I would call an acute
mm,
change curve
mm,
in their business models.
mm,
Maybe it works for the apex leader to lead through the transition,
mm,
but it will be I will be surprised if they are not a very strong team that's working close to him. So that in case, let's say, is indisposed for whatever reason that they can't immediately step in, I'll
mm.
be very surprised. I don't know the details. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it does. I'm not sure, but I'll be surprised. So I would not say I'm concerned overly. He made a statement during the current uh, World Economic Forum. He was saying that he said that he would rather be optimistic and fail, or rather than being pessimistic and be successful. No, he would rather be optimistic and find out to be wrong than to be pessimistic and then be right. So I guess that it just shows that he's an optimist. Maybe so meaning for him, it's always is on a hyper.
Yeah,
The cup is almost full. In fact, not half empty. His cup is full all the time. That's what he thinks.
yeah,
And that again, I suppose, worked for him. But yes, we are all waiting to see how it transitions the leadership team because
yeah,
we don't really know a lot about his leadership team. That's really the point.
yeah,
If you look at Amazon, for example, we've seen the various organizations. We can see his leadership team is more prominent.
yeah,
In fact, we know some of them because I also know that space very well. In fact, in my professional practice, I actually have solution architecture expertise in the AWS, so I know that space a bit. Um, but there are different personalities.
yeah, yeah.
So one is a little more eccentric. I won't say who is.
Wow. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. I will say by far this is our longest conversation so far. And that shows you and tells you how much passion that we have for the subject that we have been talking about. And that is why succession plan fails in Africa.
Mm,
I believe we've been able to do a good job. Of course, maybe in a future conversation we can do better, a lot better. But I believe what we have said so far is going to be helpful to a lot of churches, a lot of organizations, even to our political elites, because these are matters that touches everyone, including even those of us, two of us that are also leading this conversation. Kunle, I want to thank you so much for doing this again with me. This has
Thank you, my friend.
it has proven to be yet another amazing conversation between two friends. Sometimes it's like you're able to read into my mind. Sometimes it's like I'm able to read into your mind. And Kunle, honestly, people would think every day we're always on the phone talking, but it doesn't happen.
No,
And you and I know that it doesn't happen.
it doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have
Because
to happen.
if two people share the same values, share the same leadership belief,
Yeah,
then even if they don't speak in a year, the next time they speak, they just pick up because
that,
it's like two minds
exactly,
that are part of the same block.
exactly.
Exactly.
So, Kunle, on this note, I want to say thank you to you.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, sir. And I appreciate the opportunity as always. Please give my regards to your family, and I expect the very best of you in 2026.
Thank you. Same to you. I wish you and your family the best that the year has to offer.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.
See you
Bye bye.
next month.
Bye for now.
Yeah, bye.